Hello and welcome to the EWG Mercury. My name is Ryan McKenna and I will be your moderator for today's segment. Let's start off by introducing our panelists.
I'm Matt Musk.
I'm Angelisa Tangelo.
I'm Nick Petrarca.
Mrs. Kokap.
And I'm Adam Reese.
So today our topic is the evolution of the family structure as well as traditional families compared to contemporary families, which means how the family has basically evolved from one figure to another. So back in the 1900s, like the 40s and 50s, the ideal family was a male father and a female mother and one or two kids. That's evolved so much to having two fathers and a kid, or two mothers, or grandparents raising their grandkids, or single parent households, and there's just so many things that make up a family nowadays. So how do you feel the family has evolved, and do you think it's changed for the better or for the worse, Adam?
I think it's really great that it's evolved from the point of the modern, not modern, the normal type of family where it's the mom and dad and a couple of kids. I think it's really great that it's evolved into something where it's more than that.
Yes.
And I think it's a lot more accepted by society nowadays, which I also think is really great. Because in the 50s, a contemporary family, that, you kidding me? Like that's like absurd.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's like we don't really think much of it being absurd. We just sort of accept it for what it is, and I think that's really great. So
I definitely have to agree with Adam on this one. I think also as people are starting to realize themselves kind of in the past 20 years, and maybe even 30 years, we've really been opening of, gay, transgender, and as that's evolved, our family structure has evolved too. And I feel that it's become a much better environment, and for the kids too, I feel like it's really opening them up to what the world is really like. No one's going to be the exact same. There are so many different kinds of people.
Yeah.
And I think it's just positive all the way around, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ms. Kokab, how do you feel the modern family has altered the raising of children? Do you feel that the traditional family did a better job of raising children, or the contemporary family in modern times? Because, certainly...
Well, I think you have to do what works for you and your family, and keeping in mind that you want your kids to have, you want them to have time and, with parents and stuff. So I would say, I think more time was probably spent on kids with probably a traditional sense, because the mom's always home, there's dinner on the table, they had lunches made, and I feel like now when both parents are working, it's a little bit more chaotic in the house because you're always running around, but you still have that special time with your kids, but yeah, so I feel like, I don't know, traditional probably had a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit more busy, but.
Angel, do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, I think family's an important thing, so I think it's good because there's a lot of families that don't have anyone, but I think it's good because if they have someone live with them, they consider them as a family. If they're really close to them, like friends, they consider as family.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to what Ms. Kokab said about the traditional family. I'm going to bring in divorce rates into play. So I've been doing research, and over 40% of marriages end in divorce. 38% of those marriages are male-female, whereas the other 2% are gay or lesbian couples. How do you feel this affects the children? Do you feel like divorce plays in on an emotional factor on the child, or raising the child, or any effect whatsoever, Nick?
Yeah, honestly, the one thing you got to keep in mind here is that families are so complicated because every family has a different relationship with their kid, and it's hard to just label. Well, here's what the contemporaries. Here's what the the new age. It's tough to put a label on families, but it all depends on how much time the parents are spending with the kids and how easy the transition is. You could just as easily have a hard divorce with a straight couple as you would with a gay couple or a transgender couple. It is very, very, as I said, all plays a role. It's all very crucial.
Since gays and lesbians are the same as straight people, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
I feel, of just whether they get divorced or not. It's love is love, and love can break, obviously. So it doesn't matter who you marry; it can still break. marriage. So
Beautiful
I
said.
don't think thank you. So I don't think it really matters on who it is because we're all equal. So
Definitely.
Yeah, very good point. So what about Angel? How do you feel about like single parents and raising children in the modern society? Do you feel like that has any effect on the child, or no matter how hard the parent tries, it's like just as effective?
Well, it could have two sides to it because it might be hard for the parent and the child because they don't have the other person like to talk to, maybe. And then it could help them too if they really don't like the other parent or something. And then the person that's taking care of them, they think that's more important when the person's taking care of them because they feel like that they're more important when they take care of them. Not the other.
Yeah, well said. Matt, do you have anything to elaborate on this or any opinions you'd like to chime in? All right.
If I may interject, I do want to also put out there that the habitat of, like, you know, where people live plays a huge factor in this. Because while it's great maybe in New England or in California, if you're in the South, like Texas or, you know, like Tennessee, it can be alienating for a kid sometimes. I love modern families. I personally am very accepting, but in the South they're not that accepting, and it's not generalizing here. It's just facts. If people in the South are not as open to gay people or transgender people,
Yeah.
and I feel that if there's a couple down there and they have a kid, that kid could feel very alienated and kind of like an outcast. So while it is good, I think we need to focus more on the environment of making it a better, you know, transgender environment in the South before we focus on the contemporary, you know, if that makes any sense.
It'll
It's hard
definitely
to
have an effect on
yeah.
raising the child. So back in like the 1900s, everyone relied on one another. Actually, it looks like we're gonna have to go to a brief break. We'll come back in a little bit. So thank you for. Hello and welcome back to our segment on the evolution of family. Let's start the segment off by saying, Angelique, what does family mean to you? Like, what are your thoughts on family?
Well, I think that it's good to have a family because, like I said earlier, that people don't really have a family and that people should be grateful for a family because they do everything for them. I mean, if they're good parents, but...
Matt, what's your opinion on family?
Family's very important.
duly noted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Nick,
Yes.
what factors do you think come into play in family when raising a child or raising a kid?
Honestly, I think there's only one factor that comes into play, and that's love. It's cliche, I know, as I say, everyone's rolling their eyes, but the more love you give your kid and the more love you have for the family, the easier it is to get past any difficulties that they may have. And I feel that it's, with families that don't have that much love, and even the smallest of problems is like a hurdle in their path, and it's tough. One thing I feel like a lot of families got to keep in mind, you only have one family. You can't choose who your family is. You just got to accept them for who they are. And it's tough sometimes. It really is hard. But you got to let it just, you know.
Yeah. So the traditional family back in like the 1950s, 1960s would rely on one another for dependence and support and like housing, everything like that. But with modern technologies and all the ways we can socialize nowadays, families are becoming more and more independent from one another. Kids are like moving out earlier, like going to college on their own, buying their own houses, being more financially stable. How do you feel this newfound independence of the contemporary family has changed, like for the better or for the worse?
I think it's for the worse because with technology, although it's another way to socialize, I feel it really separates people, and especially family. I can say firsthand, everyone pretty much has a smartphone or something.
Not me.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
have a
your flip phone.
It's okay, Miss Kev. It's okay.
I know, one day.
You're accepted by us.
All right.
You're good. You're good.
But no,
You're our family.
Sad.
So-
He checks me, it'll take forever.
so pretty much when my entire family is over, usually we're all sitting on our phones. We're not really talking to each other. We're just sitting there in the same room, just on Snapchat, on Twitter, checking our mail, texting people. And at some point, like even my mom says, "Geez, everyone's on their phone. Like, turn it off." And
But I can say the same thing too with parents, because a lot of times, like just with like having younger kids, you go somewhere and then the parents are completely on their cell phone, like not paying attention. You could be at the zoo and they're like, looking at their cell phone
Yeah.
instead of looking at the kids or having that quality time with them.
Yeah.
So I
Everyone
feel like
is-
they miss
you're-
out on
you're
that.
everyone
right.
is so focused on taking photos or taking videos,
Right,
and
instead of
actually
being
living
there,
in the
right,
memory.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I totally agree with you. Technology makes this a whole different ball game. Doesn't sound good. Technology makes this a whole different ball game. Essentially, we live in a different world now. And I walk by and I see parents giving their 2-year-old kids iPads and like all these products. And the biggest thing that I fear is the kid won't have a childhood.
Yeah.
Because when I look back at my childhood, I have fond memories of going to the zoo, as you said, having fun, playing outside, playing in a snowstorm. With these kids now who are born today, I don't remember what I did on my phone 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But I remember if I played in the snow 2 weeks ago, it's a lot less memorable.
And I mean, when I was little, I grew up with every so often I'd grow up with my brother playing video games or something. And I mean, it was good memories playing on a PS1 and stuff.
Yeah.
Back when those were a thing.
Wow.
No Atari.
I'm really dating
Nah,
myself.
so it's like I don't really remember too much because it didn't stick out. But I can tell you, like every time I went outside with my brother or my parents or something, just hanging out with them, having a good time. And I feel like technology, although it's a really great concept,
That's
I guess,
arguable.
Yes.
Okay. That's debatable.
it's really I feel personally can, not all families, but it can kind of divide up.
Yeah, it's-
Moderation. Yeah.
Parents are so wrapped up in having proof of the memories and having like pictures and videos of the moment that they just don't want to like be in the moment. And
Exactly.
oftentimes they use it as a distraction for their child, so they don't actually have to.
And I think
parent.
some people too, like some adults, if they're working, really long hours, and then all of a sudden they come home, and then the kids are cranky sometimes too. And I think some parents use it almost as like a babysitter,
Yeah.
oh here's your Kindle, go on
Yeah.
that. And I think they really
Yeah.
have to kind of shy away from that,
I agree.
so that you have that
And
time.
one thing I'd like to interject is, now this is gonna seem kind of harsh, but no one gives a crap about your photos. You're the only
Yeah.
person that likes your photos, and when you die, no one's gonna care. So I know that's dark, I know, but it's true. It's true.
You gotta have photos for the family
I know
album.
it's dark, but when you
We're
think
already
about
under
it,
6 feet.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like
that's-
you're taking all these photos, and it's good to have memories, but those memories are for yourself, and you gotta
Yeah.
keep that in mind. That it's, as I said, when you die, they're probably gonna get thrown away.
You're the
Your
one
memories
that
are gone.
you're the one that remembers those moments. Yeah. So, Angel, what effects do you think this use of technology on children has on the family or the development of the child?
Well, it could distract them from a lot of things like homework too. Like when, but yeah, using it a lot in front of your family is kind of like you're not really doing anything with them. It's not really spending time with them. So.
All right. Yeah. So before we wrap up, Nick, do you have any pieces of advice that can bond families together, or like things you can do, or personal opinions?
Time. Spend
Time.
time.
Yeah, time. Thank you.
Lots of time
I like that. Yeah, time.
without cell phone.
It's a tough. It's a tricky.
Yeah,
Yeah, without
it's
cell
hard.
phone. I like that. It's a tricky question to answer. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. But it's difficult. All I can say is just got to love everybody as much as you can.
All right. Thank you, Nick. thank you to all our panelists. Well, it looks like it's time to wrap up. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm Ryan McKenna from the EWG Mercury.